Welcome to a new episode of Delphine Circle, where we uncover the mind, body, and spirit of success. Subscribe now for free to receive updates on the latest interviews. Then, sit back, relax, and tune in. Well, hello, guys, and welcome to the Circle.
It's great to be here.
Yay! Well, I'm really excited because this is only our second show in the Mind, Body, Spirit series, and we feel super honored to have Dr. Patrick Porter, award-winning author, researcher, educator, and founder of BrainTap. And we also have Salme Klaus, the beautiful girl that introduced us to BrainTap originally on the show, brought Dr. Porter back, biohacker, holistic nutritionist, and BrainTap enthusiast for sure. So we have so much to cover today because this is a lot of really incredible information. So let's just jump right into it. Dr. Porter, what is BrainTap?
Well, BrainTap's a piece of hardware and an app that works for helping you to think better, perform better, and sleep better. So basically you just press play to change. For those people that want to meditate but haven't found that quite way to do it, it can help you to accelerate that process. But really, it's to downregulate your nervous system so you don't have the stress that's interfering with all of our great healthy lifestyles.
Wonderful. And it actually was just recently that I fully understood that it was primarily like a meditation tool, right? Mm-hmm. So for those people who say, I have a hard time meditating, this is the answer, right?
We're kind of niching out something called brain fitness because we've shown meditation only helps really while you're there. And there's some residual effect. There's a halo effect. But what we want to prove is that we can actually train the brain and it can have a long-term effect. And maybe we'll get into a little bit of that with some of our research because we want to train the brain. Right now, we're being trained, unfortunately, by the media to be stressed out and fear-based. So our cortisol levels are increasing and it's stressing us out. So we need to retrain the brain on a daily basis, just like exercise. I mean, everyone knows now that we need to physically do something to stay in shape. The same thing's true with our brain.
I love it. All right, well, we have a BrainTap here. So let's see. Can you give us a little demonstration?
Sure. It's pretty simple. There's a corded option and a Bluetooth, but you just turn it on. Once you do, there's lights in the ears, and we'll have Salme put it on for us. And there's lights in the eyes, so your eyes stay closed. When you put it on, you can cord it if you don't want to use the Bluetooth feature. But if you're using Bluetooth, you just start the session. It's the app is actually synced with the headset. Oh. So in our 1,800 sessions, each one of them is encoded differently for something called neuroplasticity. For people that think of that as brain speed. How fast does your brain think, act, and respond? And the more neuroplasticity, the smarter a person is. Wow. So it's just like a computer. So she puts it on like that, just kicks back.
You actually look really cute in that. All right, so it's got something over the ears, it's got something over the eyes. Do you always use them together, or would you ever not use the eyepiece if you're reading or something like that?
Well, if some people do use the Gamma program while they're doing their emails and things because that's really good for cognition and breaks down amyloid plaque in the brain, especially if you're getting older. Yeah. So, but
now, are your eyes closed with that thing in front of you?
Your eyes are closed. Your eyes actually have 300 times more mitochondria than the brain, which means it's going to absorb light energy. So we want to get energy into the brain. In order to fix the brain, we have to have ATP, energy at the source. So the most underprescribed nutrient on earth is light. So we deliver it through the ears. There's red and blue light.
Why would you put light through the ears?
Well, there's something called auricular therapy. Most people know acupuncture, but there's a Dr. Nogier. He found out there's different auricular points where you can use needles or lasers or seeds, and it actually triggers different responses in the body.
Interesting.
This happens through something called meridians. Okay. So we can put light in there. So we're bathing the light. We put a 20-minute dose of light, which is equivalent to a 2-minute laser treatment. But so the light the light is absorbed by the red blood cells. It's carried throughout the body, mostly to the brain is where we want it, so that the brain that is having problems, maybe it's stressed out, maybe you have dementia, Alzheimer's, whatever. We need to get energy in there. Even sleep. Most people don't realize the problem why 2/3 of America isn't sleeping is they don't have enough energy in their brain to sleep. Wow. We've all had children that we couldn't get to sleep because they were overtired. Well, the body's overtired. The nervous system is worn out. We get energy in there, now they can sleep better, perform better, and obviously just on a day-to-day basis think better.
Yeah. How did that feel when you have it on?
It feels great. Sometimes, depending on the program, the light is, with some programs it's less light, and with some programs it's a little bit more.
Oh.
So sometimes I just put it up. When it's too much, I
Uh-huh.
feel like it's too much stimulation for my eyes.
Uh-huh.
I put it up and I still get amazing meditation just through ears and through the...
Yeah. She has light eyes too. So
Yeah.
when most people don't realize with dark eyed, like you and I,
Mhm.
we don't bring in as much light energy into our brain. That's why
Okay.
blue eyed or green eyed people usually will wear sunglasses.
It's good to know. Yeah.
And it's a what do you call it? A trait that is going away, right?
Yes.
I can't remember what that trait's called, but yeah, because light eyes is considered weaker, right? It doesn't what do you call it? Keep the light out of your eyes as much.
Right.
So very interesting. Well, and how long do you wear it?
It depends on a session and how much time you have for meditation. I do it starting from 6 minutes. There is like one sound bowl program that is
really
my
you can
favorite.
do it in 6 minutes.
You can get like amazing rejuvenation rest in 6 minutes. But it's better, if you have 15 minutes or 30 minutes, it's better if you have more time.
Okay.
Because then it will be deeper meditation.
There's 3 times a day most people like to use it. Like if you, in the morning, we have what we call digital coffee to wake up the brain. As you get, better looking and more intelligent with age, there's a brainwave called SMR. That one atrophies. So we need to exercise that one in the morning. So for sleep, a lot of people think I need to do it right before sleep. No, you need to do it right in the morning, because if you didn't get a good night's sleep, your brain dysregulated, meaning that they're not synchronized. So, and then in the middle of the day, we've shown at 2:00 in the afternoon, most people watching this probably can identify, you get a low. And that's when we go get coffee, tea, or chocolate. And that's because our biological system actually drops in temperature every day at 2:00. It increases temperature at 2 in the morning. That's why if you're one of those people that wakes up around 2 or 3 in the morning, that's when your biological clock is resetting. So what the body is telling us is we need a nap. Like these bodies, even though we've progressed, we have the internet and all of these things, our bodies are still the same one that was on the Serengeti 200,000 years ago. So it wants a nap. It doesn't want to keep going. And then at night, when you're talking about the visor, a lot of people will listen right before bed. And depending upon like the light-eyed people, they might not use the visor at night because it's going to give you energy. But at first you need energy to heal. But then, myself, I do it twice a day, usually in the morning and then in the afternoon when I need to reboot.
I do twice a day.
Yeah, so not nighttime, because that's a lot of times when people meditate is in the evening. But
You can.
Yeah. I personally just do it first thing in the morning and then during the day when I need some rest.
Wonderful. So what is the most common use of it? How are people mostly using it? Because I know it's like 1,800 something programs, right?
What we find most people use it for is for sleep, actually.
Okay.
Most of our users will listen right before sleep, at least one session of their sessions they do during the day, because of better sleep. We need to improve.
And they say that's the number one health concern in the whole world, actually.
Well, we know sleep is where you incubate your superpowers. So if you don't get sleep, it's like you have kryptonite in your pocket. You can't do much. So in the process of listening, what we find is it's usually stress is number one. People come to us because of stress, and so we have a lot of sessions for that, but also weight loss. When I was featured in People magazine, they said, how did these people losing weight? And I said, well, we sent them over 100 people. We could have sent them 1,000 that had taken half their weight off and kept it off for more than 5 years.
Oh my God.
Because a lot of people don't realize that it's not always what you're eating. It could be what's eating you, the psychosomatic reason for that weight gain. But also the light, sound, and vibration, we've shown that it increases metabolism up to 30%. Just by relaxing. You think you're just taking a nap, but we have a device called the NeuroCheck where we can scan somebody's nervous system pre and post, and we can show them. In fact, you'll be at an event tonight. I'll do it. Maybe give you some screenshots you can share with the audience and show how you did pre and post BrainTap.
I would love that. Absolutely. So now you say you have all of these people who have done it for more than 5 years. How long has this technology been around?
Well, this technology has only been around since 2014, but I invented the space actually in 1986.
Tell us about that.
What happened, well, earlier than that, my dad was a Silva instructor. The Silva method is a meditation process. So I grew up setting up classrooms and watching my dad give seminars.
Love Jose Silva. That's how I originally started meditating.
Yeah, so you'll be familiar with our sessions. So we were doing that, and then my dad, that helped him and helped me. My first book, Awaken the Genius, is all about accelerated learning techniques. So we found that when the brain's balanced, you just become smarter. So I wrote a book about it. I was doing what they called, I was with a group called Society of Accelerated Learning and Teaching. So we developed a set of goggles that people would wear. Did many studies on people accelerating their learning. And then we found out, hey, it does all these other things, like improves pain control. It helps like Mind Over Menopause. It helps with stress-free childbirth. It helps with your golf game. I mean, we have soccer teams. I mean, we have one soccer team in Kansas City put a 20-station brain tapping room in. We're in almost every professional sports team has a brain tapping space. And we have schools, like a school in India that's called the Creative School. They put a brain tap in every classroom, so when the child gets stressed out, they can actually go to the back of the classroom and de-stress. And before COVID, I would go there once a year and just go to see the kids, because there's about 180 kids at the school, and it's one that we help fund so that they can get their education. It's right outside of Bangalore, but it's awesome. They did everything there like a biohacking. It's a biohacking school. It's all grounded. It's open air.
Wow.
I mean, if you look
I
up
want
the
to go
creative
to that
school.
school.
Right?
Oh yeah, it's really awesome.
Oh my gosh.
I thought it should be like in California or
for
Scottsdale, Arizona or
sure.
something.
Right?
That's what it looks like.
Amazing.
So you say kids are using it. At what age can you start using BrainTap?
Well, if they do hashtag BrainTap, they'll see a little baby online that they're actually putting it on and off. And every time the mother takes it off, the baby starts crying. But when they put it back on, the baby stops crying. It's because when the brain's balanced, you don't feel pain.
But
Especially
this is a little bit too big for
Yes,
a baby.
right.
Do you
Yeah,
have
they're
like
just sitting
baby
on the-
sizes?
No, what we find is that about 4 years old is a good time, and they can also just use the app.
Yeah.
So a lot of times the parents will just put it on before they go to sleep. We have 48 sessions for children, and they'll put it on because it's meant to downregulate their nervous system. Because if they get too hyper, that's actually a brainwave called beta. If that isn't controlled, it can dysregulate the brain as well. Most people probably be shocked to know that a brain map of a dementia patient and a brain map of an autistic and a brain map of a ADD person, there's not a lot of difference.
Wow.
It's just how it shows up and manifests in the person's life.
So what type of science do you have to study to find this? And how come we're not seeing this everywhere?
I think you're going to see it everywhere now.
Okay.
We have the technology. Back in the 80s, we were like aliens that came from another planet. I remember being at the Consumer Electronics Show, because in '89 we got the best new gadget of the year. We had a lineup of people, but they didn't understand it.
Yeah.
But everybody wanted to do it because they
Right.
wanted to relax. But there was no cell phones then, no CDs, no digital downloads.
Yeah.
So it was kind of crazy. But I think now people are understanding, because people realize the biggest fear today is not public speaking anymore. The biggest fear is fear of losing your memory and being a burden on your family.
Wow.
So that's the big fear. So people are realizing, you go to the grocery store, how many covers have brains on them?
Yeah.
You wouldn't have seen that in the 1960s or 70s. I mean, we didn't have this problem. And I think it's a combination of diet
diet for sure.
diet, lifestyles. I mean,
Stress.
what they call it digital dementia for a reason. I mean, if you look at somebody using their cell phone walking, and you put somebody who's got dementia walking, they look the same. So they're stumbling around, looking down.
Such a sad reality.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I love the YouTube where they're walking into pools and walking into ponds, and because they're just so distracted.
Yeah.
They say that somebody wrote a book that they said that our attention span is the same as a goldfish, 9 seconds. So that's not.
Wow.
I don't think we should be proud about that, but that's what it is.
Wow. So is this FDA approved, or what type of things? And
Well, back in the 80s when we started this, they considered it a gadget. We're not an FDA approved. We don't have to be.
Yeah.
We've kind of fallen into the area of like an audio book or something like that. Or a therapy.
Yeah.
I mean, my franchise company was
Guided meditation or something. Yeah.
Yeah, we mostly worked with addictions and things of that nature. I wrote the programs for DUIs for the state of Arizona. So I took that knowledge and put it into. We have 2 different addiction programs. So I think that what we're going to find is there's a need in every area of your life. When somebody asks me, what do I think it takes to be well? I'm writing a book actually with Rashika Sikri, who's the past she was head of Google's wellness programs. And we were doing a program with them on peak performance, which we can talk about in a moment. So we kind of communicated. But then now we're talking about the 3rd wave of wellness. I think there's 4 waves, but this book is about the 3rd wave, because the first wave is nutrition. Like in your business, right?
Yes.
You can't outthink a bad diet. I mean,
Yes.
unless you're Saint Germain and you can use alchemy to change sugar into, B3 or something.
Yes.
You're going to have problems eating sugar, and things of that nature. So you got to get off of that. Number 2 is you got to move and breathe. So I always recommend people dance, Tai Chi, yoga. You got to do something to get your body moving and breathing, because then right now, setting is the new smoking, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's because we actually have done studies where we showed people just sit for 2 hours and I'll show you what happens to your brain function. It's terrible. We're designed to be up moving when the sun's out.
Yeah.
So once I did that study, now if you're at my house or my office, I have a stand-up desk, because I was amazed at what happens to the brain. The body is meant to be, moving and breathing.
Active, yeah.
Number 3 is brain fitness. What are you doing? Now you can do breath work. I just had a published article with PubMed where we did it with Ames Bhopal, which is the All Indian Institute of Medical Sciences. I work a lot with the head of Bhopal Physiology on our board. And so we do a lot of studies with them. I always like to take ancient traditions and make modern technology. So we showed how doing a pranayama, how you could do the same thing as our dementia study. And the only problem is you got to do the work. A lot of people don't want to do the work. They don't want to do the breathing techniques. They don't want to learn all that. You got to do it 3 times a day. But we did have the frontal lobe, which happens in dementia. This part of the brain, the executive functioning, gets out of sync. So even if it's off just voltages, energy to the brain. So if it's even off just a fraction of a volt, we will not have a good memory. Not that we don't have a good memory, we won't have a good recall system is what it is. The memories are there. It's like having a computer and you take it to the repair shop and go, I know my file's on there, but I can't get to them. I can't get to the hard drive or whatever. It's like the memories are there, but they can't recall them.
So have there ever been any studies that showed how it affects dementia or Alzheimer's or anything like that?
That's what we're doing. There's a book called Saving Your Brain by Dr. Kelly Miller. He has a chapter called BrainTap to the Rescue, because what we did was we set up protocol. Now, if you do more things, it's even better. But when you're doing a study, you just do one thing so you can say, hey, this is what caused it. So those that say, well, you could do this nutrition or that exercise, we know that. But just using the BrainTap 3 times a day, we took women 55, 65 who were all on the dementia scale. In cognitive skills, they all scored that they were dementia patients. After 6 weeks doing this 3 times a day, morning sessions, afternoon sessions, and evening sessions, they had to do them 3 times a day. Every one of them got off the dementia scale in 6 weeks. Every one of them had matching hemispheres within 6 weeks. Every one of them had, the lowest was 49% neuroplastic change, which meant they increased the energy of their brain. And energy is life right now. I mean, if most people drag through the day and they get home and they pass out. They're no good to themselves or their family, and that just we live in an energy economy, so we need to think about that, and light's part of that equation.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So I've noticed, and I'm in my 50s. I'll go ahead and say it. I
like the 50s.
Memory.
What are you talking about?
I know, right? We're reinventing them.
Yes.
Just saying. My memory has definitely started to wane. I'm noticing, just right now, I couldn't think of the word that, and does that help with that?
Oh yeah. What happens is when you have a memory.
So it doesn't have to be dementia or Alzheimer's.
No.
It can just be your basic.
Well, think about under stress. Anytime you're under stress, your memory doesn't work as well.
Totally.
We've all been to parties and they introduce you to 15 people, and 2 minutes later, somebody was just introduced you comes up, and you're going, somebody comes up and says their name, I forgot their name. That's because you're under that stress environment.
Yeah. And also when you're sleepless, you cannot remember stuff, right?
That's so true.
Yeah.
One thing, we help with stress, number 1, because we're going to lower cortisol. Cortisol is the super enemy to the brain. They actually showed that a year like COVID actually can shrink the brain 3/4 of an inch. So, I always tell people, if you don't like the size of your brain, just watch the news, because you're going to be stressed out, worried.
Totally.
It's just like, if you're feeling too happy, watch the news. You're going to be depressed in no time.
That's why I don't watch news.
Right.
We don't either. No news.
It's all about opportunities, right? And it's all about knowing that there's an outcome. I mean, I remember we were on a book tour with my son. We had an RV, and we didn't even leave town. He's going, when are we going to get there, Dad? I'm going, are you kidding me? You got a TV, you can watch these movies.
Right.
I was used to doing it in a station wagon, it was terrible going on trips. And I said, so I sat down, I showed him a map. I said, Alex, here's where we're going. And he got so good. He was only 12 years old, but he would, this was before GPS, obviously. Now we just tell Google what to do.
Right, exactly.
But what had happened now is he would start telling me. So I said, here's where we're going. Here's the signs. Tell me when you see these. So he started anticipating. It's almost like when you're trying to do a weight loss program or trying to help, you need those small micro changes so you can make the big change at the end.
Right.
As soon as he knew there was an outcome and he knew there was some milestones along the way, he was willing to do that. What happens if you don't have a future or you don't have outcomes? Your brain just goes everywhere, and fear, anxiety, and frustration are really the cause. One study I think I should mention to your listeners, because it might be part of the group that watches your show. We did a study with the Peak Performance Institute with the top Googlers. These were the top 100. They measure everything they do from keystrokes to everything, and they get really good results with their program. But we want to do, let's just do the training with them and do the training with BrainTap. We had a 19% improvement, peak performance.
Whoa.
But the part that really was eye-opening to everybody was when we did them, we had them do standardized testing to see like their dementia scale.
Mhm.
We also had them do their anxiety, depression, all of these. They were all depressed. In fact, clinically depressed. These were overachievers. But because they were being ran so hard, so long, they scored that they should have been on medicine maybe. But at the end of the study, they had a 71% improvement in the dementia score. So once you start, energy is the key here to having a positive attitude, having more energy, having better relationships, whatever is going on. Because if you can't show up as your authentic self, you just can't give as much to anything you're doing, whether it's a job or a relationship or family life.
So how long does it take if I'm getting mine tonight? How long does it take before I would actually be able to feel a difference?
Today.
Exactly. After one session. I remember
Wow.
then you did the neuro check on me.
Mhm.
He measured my brain waves and a bunch of my biological markers with neuro check before 10-minute meditation and after. And I literally had like 30-40% improvement in every area.
We'll
And
do
I
that
was
with
shocked.
you tonight.
So
Yes,
get
and it's something you can feel. It's not
you
just something
feel it.
on the neuro check machine.
Yes.
You can see
you can
the difference.
feel it. Yeah.
Wow. That's
Most
amazing.
people, the one study we did that we're actually presenting for the NIH here in May in Scottsdale, they're doing the big integrative conference. They're finally doing it live. They accepted 3 of our recent studies, so we're presenting them at that conference. It's just a bunch of researchers, so it's not a kind of, most people would want to go there. It's probably going to be really boring, but you have to present, to get the research. We showed that one session, it's now a 500-person study. The average change was 39.8%. Neurological change in one session. Now that's where you're going to get the biggest change. So it's kind of like changing your diet. If you get rid of sodas, you're going to see that's the biggest thing you can do, right?
Yeah.
So what we found is when you reduce stress, that's the biggest thing you can do for health.
So it doesn't have to be somebody that's in bad health. It can be even somebody that's just trying to reach their peak performance. People who are optimal.
Absolutely, everybody can benefit.
Well, there's 2 studies we did that blew people away on that. We had we work with Seminole College in Florida. If you go to their website, you'll see they have a page for BrainTap because they use BrainTap to recruit people into their sports programs.
Wow.
For mental wellness. We took their golf team. They're 3 years in a row national champions. These were elite athletes anyway. They were the women, and we actually improved their alpha by 300%. These were elite athletes anyway. So when you can improve, and what they said was, we were going to take the equipment out after our study, and they go, "Where are you going with that?" And the college actually said, "If you leave the equipment here, we'll man it." So we have a room that's now the brain tapping room at the college, and all the student athletes, anybody who wants to at the college, but usually it's the student athletes come in. We did the same thing in Brazil. Brazil actually they changed their neuro center to the BrainTap Neuro Center because they're doing the digital drug study for us, where they're showing that BrainTap actually is a digital drug, and we show how we regulate the 54 different neurotransmitters that make you feel good or bad. Their goal is, they don't have the FDA there. When you're asking that question earlier, they have something called Invisa. And Invisa and the government actually funded it, a $250,000 study to prove that BrainTap's a digital drug so they could replace opioids with BrainTap.
They should.
So yeah, we're showing the study's done, the phenomenal results. We're gonna get it done because you only feel pain in a beta brainwave. That's the awake state.
Yeah.
That's why when you get put under anesthetic, you don't feel anesthesia. You don't feel the pain because the beta brainwave's knocked down. But if you increase alpha and theta, you show me somebody who's in pain, and I'll show you somebody who's highly stressed.
You used it for pain.
I used it for pain. So I got I found BrainTap about a year ago when I just came back from the Sparrow Clinic, where I was getting a treatment for CRPS, which is complex regional pain syndrome. And I was at the clinic for 6 months. And when I got home, I was about 85% better, but I wanted definitely to get to 100% into remission. So I had been doing Joe Dispenza's meditations daily for many years, but I got my brain got used to it, so they weren't as effective for me anymore. So I was looking for something more innovative, something new. And I was taking one of the health online classes, and they talked about BrainTap. And I just like got fascinated, and I researched, I ordered, and I started using it a year ago, and I got addicted to it. So now I use it twice a day, every single day. And it definitely, after a couple of months, my pain went from, I became pain-free.
Wow.
And that's amazing.
The Sparrow Clinic needs to get some of these BrainTaps.
They are, because you are working with Dr.
We're actually putting together a whole series based on that. I had her listen to it to see if I was on the right track. So.
Yes, so we worked on the CRPS program together a little bit, and I'm actually very curious how that's going, because I want to use it. Even though I'm in remission, I still want to use it.
So all the what's in this, the sound part of it, most people don't understand the value of that. They think, oh, that guy's just talking. But there's some psychological things going on there too. That's my background, the psychology. But there's also words can change up to 2,300 gene expressions. So if you want to express, we have internal dialogue. And we talk to ourselves 90,000 words.
Which is the most important dialogue we have.
Unfortunately, 70-80% of those are negative. That's just part of our nature. Our brain is still trying to protect us from whatever's happening. So most people are on guard, especially if you know somebody that drives in the car and they're always going. They might have a primitive reflex problem, but you learned about that, I'm sure, to unlock those.
Absolutely.
A lot of people haven't.
The limiting beliefs. It's the working on. That's what I do every single morning. When I wake up at 4 a.m., I do my meditation, and in the morning I always work on life improvement and creating the life that I want.
And you have there's programs specifically for these.
Programs for this.
It doesn't have to be about pain or energy or sleep.
And it's all about working with your limiting beliefs, becoming more positive, creating the we are the creators of our lives, and we create with positive thoughts, positive affirmations, the self-talk that is helpful, and it's all programmed. He has done so many amazing guided meditations and visualizations, and there is a lot of psychology behind it. That's for sure.
Gosh.
Everyone's a training platform, so most people don't know this, but one of the other books I've written is called Discover the Language of the Mind, and the techniques are in there, the 12 techniques. So when somebody goes through it, they're going to get one of those techniques in each of those sessions. You don't have to know what they are to benefit from them. It's kind of like doing a dance. You don't have to know why they did all that. You just do the dance and feel good about it. So the same thing's true with the brain. We just need to get the brain moving again, instead of just, kind of boiling in its stress. That happens.
One of the things that I saw is that the programs are kind of broken into bundles. So give me an idea, if somebody's going on and they're interested in ordering it, I mean, how do they know what bundle is right for them?
Right. Well, they can get them all, obviously.
Okay.
That's $30. When they do the $30 now, if they get it from this show, they should call and just say, hey, Dr. Porter said to call and ask for the power user, and we'll give it to them.
Wow.
Eventually, this is being changed so everybody gets it. So the difference between the bundles and the power user is, in the power user, that's how our clinics use it. We have 2,400 clinics around the country using it. So all the protocols are there.
So 1,800 protocols.
Yes. They're all there. And then, but the bundles, like Sleep RX, for instance, on 2020, it was voted the best sleep app by Men's Health magazine.
Wow.
And that's because it takes you through a series, every time different. Like, I love Joe Dispenza, and he's incredible, what he talks about. But if you listen to the same thing over and over again, even if it's just a few, in fact, we've shown people, even if you listen to really good binaural beats, if you listen to the same one 3 times in a row, your brain doesn't even respond to it.
Because there is no more neuroplasticity, right?
You need change. It's like going to the workout. If you work out the same muscles every day, you're not going to get the same gain. The same is true with your neurology.
That's why I got so fascinated with BrainTap. Like, from the beginning, for me, it was like, wow, I want to have all these options. There is no way I will ever listen to all of them, but at least I want to have those options.
Yeah, and I'm always creating new ones. One that you might want to listen to now it's called Overcoming Overwhelm. And there's a series I did with Dr. Joel Rosen, he's the truth about adrenal fatigue. So I did a series to complement his program, but you don't have to be doing his program to benefit from the BrainTap sessions. Because it's all about how do we handle overwhelm? Because right now, I mean, we don't know when the next thing, our psyche is always going, what's the next thing is going to happen to us or around us or whatever, because it's so uncertainty. You know, it was only going to be 2 weeks wearing the mask and we're going to be done, you know. So we've been lied to. So the brain has no certainty. And those that have certainty usually have the most efficient nervous system, because you know it, like a sports athlete, when they know what they're going to do and they're certain about their behaviors, it happens. But if you're questioning, your body doesn't show up.
But using BrainTap definitely creates that, gives you that power to just trust in the process too. Instead of going from fear mode and sympathetic mode to parasympathetic mode, because more relaxed you are, the more you trust life, right? Even if there is uncertainty. So
you're not reacting. So.
Yeah.
Is there anybody that shouldn't use it? Is there any conditions that shouldn't use it?
Well, we tell people, if you're under stress and your problem gets worse under stress, BrainTap's perfect for you. That's one way to know it. But if you have epilepsy, there's a subset called photoepilepsy, which is about 5% of all epileptics. We've never had anybody have it, but they can't play video games either. That's the only group that can't. But all they do is flip the visor up, because they can still use the Auger frequencies. Even though those ear lights look like they were solid, they're actually flashing at a certain frequency.
Yes,
and every 2 minutes it changes. So it's changing through these different frequencies, so the body can adapt to those, because the body is also adapting. When when we're sitting here right now, you've probably heard the expression, I didn't get a good vibe, or I got a good vibe from that person. That's because our body is literally always evaluating its environment based on frequency. And then our body responds to that frequency. So if we were down by the ocean and we're sitting there, our body's going to naturally relax, because that body of water resonates at 10 hertz frequency. If we go to a mountaintop, it's going to resonate at 7.8 hertz frequency. So these frequencies our body adjusts to. And why some people have such a bad response from 5G and things like that is that's they say 50 million or 30 to 50 million pulses per second. We're used to 0.05 to 100. Those are Earth frequencies. If we go up to that frequency, our body just doesn't know what to do with it. So it's trying to figure out, what is this frequency? It's not one that it ever gets from the sun.
Can the BrainTap help with that 5G?
Oh yeah, if you read the book Radiation Nation, that BrainTap's their first.
Really?
That's the first resource, because the first thing that happens when you get this discomfort, the body goes out of regulation. So the brain gets out of
Actually, I used to be super sensitive, like super 5G sensitive, and any electricity, electronics, Wi-Fi, and I'm not as sensitive anymore. I mean. Another benefit.
Part of it is our bodies. I didn't bring it with me today, so we can't do it. But if somebody has a voltometer, you know how you measure across.
Yeah, I have that.
If you have that, you bring it, because we'll show people. Everyone pretty much is running around with 3 volts of energy running through their system. Should be 0. But we're not grounded anymore. We wear shoes. We should be walking around like hippies with
That's
no
why
shoes
living next to the ocean is good here, because
the ocean water is one of the best ways to ground, if you can get into the ocean.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you guys, we don't have that much time left. So before we go, tell us, what is the future of this technology? What can we look forward to?
Well, eventually in the labs, we're doing interactive. I want to revolutionize how neurofeedback is done, because traditional neurofeedback, we don't see long-term results with that. If somebody out there has a long-term results study, I'll pay you $1,000. Wow. I've never seen one after the fact that shows brain fitness long-term. They always say, you've gotten some results, but we need to do another 40 sessions. That's because you can't get enough training in 3 days a week going into a clinic. You need this at home. So what I'm working on, we've done a few prototypes, is imagine going to sleep at night with a sleep mask that's BrainTap enabled, and it's measuring your brainwaves while you sleep, and it's set to trigger if you come out of the deep theta state and alpha. And when you start to pop out into beta, it clicks on and puts you back to sleep.
Oh, I would love that.
And so that's one we're working on. Yeah. So that's right now we're working on that with our Brazilian partner, because we're going to do the studies down there. But I think there's so much we can do with it, and then also teaching people to wake up. So if we can wake them up in an up cycle. Right now, it kind of happens by accident. People just wake up one morning and go, wow, I got a lot of energy. And the next morning they go, I can't believe I slept 12 hours, but I can't get out of bed. It's because of the cycles we go through. So we're going to train, you can set your sleep parameters and train your brain to do that. Like Silva. Silva used to teach awake and sleep control. Now we're going to use technology to do it.
That's incredible. You guys, this has been so much incredible information. I'm so happy you came today. Thank you so much. And BrainTap.com and the webpage will have a link.
Yeah, we have a link. That link will let them get a free copy of my book, Thrive in Overdrive, which is a different book. It's the real book. It's not a web version.
Okay.
And then they'll get to keep that no matter what they do. They can read about that, and then they'll get 15 days on the app.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much. This is exciting stuff.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to this episode of Delphine Circle. Don't forget to subscribe. It's free and it will help us keep these incredible interviews coming your way. Here are 2 other episodes you may enjoy. I'm Delphine. Welcome to my circle. Welcome to my circle. Welcome.